Matthew's message, October 12, 2016. Activity and energy field of potential, human cloning, U.S. political scene, Hillary Clinton. With loving greetings from all souls at this station, this is Matthew. Earth's energy field of potential is teeming with activity like never before in your recorded history as powerful waves of light are propelling efforts toward outcomes you will heartily welcome. This influx of light is fast weakening the Illuminati's hold on their fragments of economic, political, and media control, and has motivated many minions in lower ranks to leave. So there will be distance between them and their former associates when truths emerge about the Illuminati. Those at the top are trying to salvage some of their former power, but it will be to no avail. None of their nefarious schemes will succeed. Accelerating vibrations along with evidence in hacked documents, leaked information, whistleblowers, and from action by influential individuals in governments, military and intelligence forces, and banking and legal systems, are bringing an end to the Illuminati's long dark reign. Recent internet articles posit that when Hillary Clinton speaks publicly, people are seeing a clone, not the person. Although most who read that information would consider it an absurd smear tactic, the idea that a human might be cloned is seeping into public awareness. So that you understand why and how human cloning has been done in your world, I asked my mother to copy what Hugo, an advanced soul who was very familiar with this, told her 20 years ago. And I must say, he was exceedingly patient as questions in her mind kept popping up like firecrackers. The following is an excerpt from the Human Cloning chapter in Revelations for a New Era. Hello, Madam Susie. I am glad to join your company in this moment. It is my understanding that you have questioned if cloning of adult humans has been done on Earth. Indeed, that is fact, and has been for some time, as Matthew told you. I shall start straight away, at the beginning of the cloning process, if I may. Thank you. Human cloning is a process whereby the cellular material of a living being is taken for the purpose of reproducing the exact same likeness in a new entity. The cellular material is placed in a sterile vial in a liquid conducive for the growth of that material in purity, and without imperfections entering the substance. After it divides and subdivides, the matter is transferred to a larger laboratory container under the same sterile conditions and temperature and light controls. The embryonic form becomes quickly apparent, and soon the definite form of a fetus is easily recognizable. When the fetus has reached the stage of approximately 6 months of normal gestational age, it is transferred again to a holding tank wherein the liquid approximates the amniotic fluid in the womb during pregnancy. In this liquid, the fetus continues to evolve normally as if in a womb. When the fetus has reached term development, it is removed from the fluid and is then treated as if birth by natural means has occurred. Except, of course, there is no umbilical cord to treat. Minor cosmetic surgery remedies that absence of the normal appearance. The process in human replication does not take 9 months. It is accelerated by means of chemical additives and ideal circumstances of laboratory makings. The initial process can take between 6 and 7 of your weeks for certainty of perfect fetal development, and another 8 to 10 weeks is required for the full growth. Since none of this is by natural birth processes, regular gestational time has no meaning. Cloning is not confined to reproducing infants who are permitted to grow normally from birth into adulthood. When the clone of a specific adult is at stake, the period of aging from emergence of the infant into an adult in prime years, say between 30 and 35 years of age, is only between 350 and 400 days. About 1 additional month of aging is required to produce a clone of a 65-year-old individual. That is the approximate age of most humans being cloned on Earth at this time. The substance that permits this rapid aging has not yet been discovered for such a purpose except by those few scientists engaged in the cloning process. A few individuals on Earth have been afflicted with a chemical imbalance that causes their bodies to age far more quickly than what is normal there. A 10-year-old child can have the age appearance and organic functioning and processes of a very old person. Old by your standards, that is, not elsewhere. The chemical that causes the imbalance in that diseased child's system is what is used almost to perfection in the process of rapidly aging infant clones into adults. This aging acceleration process also requires the addition of several key nutrients to the diet and ideal laboratory conditions of temperature and controlled degrees of oxygen and carbon dioxide. The disadvantage is that when the appearance must be identical to the original person who is about 60 or 65 years old, then the entire cloned being must be aged until that identical appearance is reached. There is no way to stop the aging of the organs and still achieve the necessary appearance, thus the organs are subjected to all the stress of the accelerated aging as well as any deficiencies inherent in the family genes. Even if the newly cloned individual initially appears fresher and younger looking than the original person or the predecessor clone, it quickly breaks down and starts showing more advanced signs of aging in all respects. I have spoken so far only of the body of a cloned individual. The brain is another matter. It is the most intricate aspect of the growth procedure, both in vitro and once in flesh. The human brain is a computer, and the downloading function from the original brain to the brain of the clone works exactly like your computers in this same type of process. Duplicating the original brain can be done with perfection in an infant clone. Education is supplied continuously to the clone throughout the aging period from birth to adulthood, and the brain functions as normally as you would expect within the accelerated learning faculties. Because the brain is so vast in capability, the clone's absorption of information during the educational process is not only easy, it is most interesting for the people involved to see such giant leaps in learning. We observe this from here, and see this as the only aspect of scientific nature on your planet that is beginning to be enlightened as to functional human brain capacity. Madam, the extended educational process is necessary because an abrupt insertion of intelligence and knowledge on a blank slate would produce a neurological shock. The clones are instructed from infancy by tutors, who are specially trained behavioral scientists. This aspect of the process is exactly what you do with your infants, teaching them to become aware, alert, responsible little individuals with personalities, skills, a sense of responsibility and engaging mannerisms. The tutors, whose students are quite more unique than most, are trained themselves by personal films of the family and are supplied other intimate family history, thus they are familiar with all speech and movement mannerisms of the cloned individual. It is another matter entirely when a swiftly produced adult clone is the object. A major reason aging can be accelerated is the brain's capability to absorb information and perform functions at a far faster and more comprehensive rate than most Earth people realize. In fact, if this were not so, adult human cloning there would not be possible. In a rapidly aged clone, keeping the integrity of all knowledge gained during the original being's lifetime to that point is at stake. The adult clone's initial memory ability is compromised to the extent that the clone may appear befuddled or momentarily at a loss for words, until the memory kicks in or the clone's own thinking aspect overrides the hesitation and covers, so to speak. Since this is not highly unusual in real people, it is not generally noticed with suspicion in the cloned beings, but rather is considered only a human imperfection. The downloading of all information in the brain of the original person or of the clone being replaced must be done at the moment of the need for the new clone. This can be done most successfully from the person's brain to the first clone. Slight deterioration occurs with every successive downloading procedure from the outcast clone to its replacement. No, the original brain cannot be used to circumvent this deterioration, even if that individual is still alive, because that original brain does not have the same accumulated knowledge as the most recent cloned entity. You can see that the identical store of latest information is essential if the replacement clone is to be accepted as the real person. While we are pleased to see this advancement in technology on your planet, its misuse neutralizes our elation at your discovery. Powerful people are being cloned now and have been cloned for many years, and none of this started with good intent. Always it has been for control purposes. Some of your world leaders were cloned many years past and by now are in the 30th or more versions of the original person. The purpose of cloning those people is to create the certainty of their longevity and maintenance of their influence. You can notice the abrupt and considerable change in appearance toward vibrant health and youthfulness of some world leaders as seen in TV films or photographs. Usually this high robustness and stamina immediately follows a day or a few days of absence from the public eye after a period of increasingly evident aging appearance. You attribute those remarkable differences to the person's brief vacation or recovery from a proclaimed illness, but here it is known that, simply, a new clone has replaced the old one. Yes, several clones are produced at the same time, educated as I previously explained, and kept in various places on your planet to be ever ready as needed for the up-to-the-moment knowledge insertion process. Many versions of the clones are necessary because the art of this science has not been perfected on Earth. The cloned adult bodies disintegrate far more rapidly than same-age bodies having grown old naturally. This is due partly to the accelerated aging process from infant to adult body, and partly to the lack of skill in those scientists who perform the various procedures. Earth's third-density atmosphere also is a factor. The cloned individual's family members are, of course, aware of the existence of the clone or clones, and they participate in both the educational process and the cover-up. If they resist, they themselves are cloned, usually against their will, and their clones carry on with public functions. In some cases, the original persons have died naturally, or they have been killed if it served the purpose of still more powerful people. Others are still living, although never seen in public. Only the clones are seen publicly. To quiet your mind of its question, Madam, 5 countries have developed the cloning process with just about the same level of success with the reproductions, and 1 other country is still experimenting with earlier stages. Laboratories are designed around the same functional basis, with little variation in the overall process. Some years ago there were enough variations in procedures so that differences in the quality of the clones were easily detectable. The aging process was the primary difference in approach at the different laboratories, and there were consequential weaknesses in the maximum achievable degree of physical stability and brain downloading success. With the eventual agreeable exchange of technology so that all areas of imperfections could be improved, all the current clones are emerging with approximately the same functioning abilities, appearance, and aging characteristics in all countries where they are produced. Now to continue. I shall address the very important matter of a soul in a cloned body. As for a soul being or not being in these man-made bodies, most definitely, no soul is born in a cloned individual, but a soul may choose to enter one. There is good reason for a soul to enter, just as there is good reason for a soul not to. For a soul who has been waiting to experience in physical form, it is an opportunity to do so in these waning days before great changes within God's plan for raising consciousness of the planet and all of you who are receptive. However, any soul who enters these cloned bodies knows the risk of becoming trapped by the dark forces that have pervaded the psyche of the original person and any predecessor clones. This is a particularly important consideration as brain functioning deteriorates with each downloading process, as I have mentioned, and thereby weakens a soul's mental resistance to becoming trapped. Also, in later versions of the clones, longevity is not long, so those bodies are not looked upon as the paradise life one might suspect of an individual in a highly influential position. Why would any soul take on such a problem? The power of such an influential position is exactly why some souls are not only willing, they are eager to enter the clone. They do so with the determination to overcome the genetic structure, the influence of the memory, and the inherent tendency to follow the negative path that the original soul was on. When a soul is very strong indeed, there is the will to uplift the genetic and moral character to the point that there does seem to be a turnabout in the person's health, attitudes, and activities. In such cases, it is because the stronger soul's higher intention attracts the higher light energy that enables it to infuse the cloned body with physical stamina not available to those souls with less resolve, and therefore the stronger soul can sustain the body's life force for a much longer period than a weaker soul can. Now you are thinking, how can a body live without a soul? The chemical makeup of a physical body is such that it is an independently functioning entity. Its life force is sustained by its own energetic momentum, derived from the elements and interacting processes of normal organic functioning. Therefore, a clone without a soul has the same mobility and thinking capacity as any normal body. Let us address what is not in a clone without a soul. First, emotions are not the givens they are in a naturally created human. A soulless clone has to acquire the appearance of emotions in accordance with its surroundings, perhaps what is expected of a regular guy, or maybe a member of high society. It is only conformance to the circle in which the clone moves that gives it the appearance of having emotions. But the most essential lack in a clone is the spiritual aspect that is inherent in a baby born from the egg and sperm of its parents. The soul life force encompasses those aspects of being that are the bonding with God, conscience, intuition, sense of self at a higher plane than normal conscious functioning. So, neither those ties with God nor natural emotions are within the soulless cloned individual. Instead, there is a mechanical and mental aspect of what is appropriate to do or say. Once mastered, that ability is as proficient as if the person had spent a lifetime accumulating wisdom and behaving properly. Your mind is so full of questions, madam. No, producing what you call test tube babies is not in the least the same nature as cloning individuals, and most surely not in purpose. I'm sorry about thinking of so many things to ask you, Hugo. Since it's public knowledge that a sheep has just been cloned, do you know why people en masse haven't questioned whether the same can be done with humans? Well, madam, I'd say that even though the cloning of the animal is known, there will be no sustained information on that accomplishment. The art of cloning has not been perfected there, and the products will not age in the same normal way naturally conceived animals do. When this is realized, there may not be many reports on it. Also, I'd say that concentrated publicity could logically cause all thinking individuals to extrapolate that achievement into the possibility of human cloning. That kind of speculation does indeed exist there, but to prevent the major populace accepting such a feat as a possibility, much less of validity, science fiction in books and films is the masterful means whereby the human cloning technology is confined to entertainment, and always in a tenor of absurdity. I cannot tell you when cloning first was done, but the technology is in the universal mind, and therefore accessible to those who tap into this ultimate source of all knowledge. Hugo, does God approve of cloning? I am amazed by your question. I never thought to question this. I suppose he doesn't disapprove, as anything that creates for the higher good of the universe surely cannot be considered bad by God. It is in the abuse of this cloning capability, like anything else, wherein God most surely would be disappointed, I would think. Madam Susie, I ask respectfully that you return to discuss this matter with me another time. I shall come directly in response to your summons, or Matthew will contact me, if you prefer. Thank you for this graciousness, and by this I shall say goodbye, for a brief time. The following day. Madam Susie, thank you for receiving me again. I am heartened to tell you that cloning is not inherently against God. No, not at all. I have given this considerable thought since you questioned it. I have talked with one of the Master Council members whose wisdom in spiritual affairs is higher than any others in this realm, and he has agreed that cloning is not against God's wishes, only the misuse of the cloned individuals or the self-serving purpose behind the development of them. Mother, thank you. When readers first questioned if Hillary Clinton is dead or alive, and if the person seen in public is a clone, holographic image, or body double, we asked Nirvana's monitors of Earth, and their answers varied. It is not difficult for them to decipher energy stream or attachments around a person, but the profusion swirling around Hillary contained a mixture of speculation and fact about that specific issue. After the monitors obtained clarity, they gave us the following report. Hillary is indeed alive, but she has not been seen in public since being assisted into a car several weeks ago. Always one of her clones is nearby. That is standard procedure with any person who has been cloned in your society, but her physical and mental condition at that time was too compromised to download information to the clone, her first to be used. Thus, the pneumonia diagnosis was devised to give Hillary time to regain sufficient stability for the download to proceed. After a brief absence from public view, she reappeared looking refreshed, younger, and slimmer, just as she did several years ago when the clones were fabricated. Only the clone and any successors will be seen publicly from now on, because Hillary's deteriorating health would be such a marked contrast to her clone's vibrancy and high energy. It isn't known if that situation will have any effect on presidential campaigning. What is known is, energy surrounding the two major parties' nominees is negatively ablaze, you could say, and it is possible that scenarios in addition to those mentioned in our August message will develop. Positive energy around Bernie Sanders hasn't waned, it still is leading him into the presidency. The unconditional love of all light beings in this universe accompanies you as you help your world move into a long era of love, peace, and prosperity for all. Love and peace. Channeled by Suzanne Ward. www.matthewbooks.com